Welcome. Welcome to Peace Party. And Peace Party is brought to you by the Global Heart of Peace initiative from Centers for Spiritual Living, where we share ideas and activities to nurture and celebrate the many aspects of peace and explore how exciting and uplifting a life of peace and joy can be. And here at Peace Party, we recognize that we are all in this together. So as we nurture and practice and develop this consciousness of peace, we are contributing to the expression of peace in our world as it grows within and shines through us. We are contributing to the expression of peace in our world. My name is Reverend Christy Semple. I am a minister with the New Thought Teaching of Science of Mind and a member of the Global Heart of Peace Committee. I'm so glad to be with you here today. And today I'm going to talk about a facet or a quality of our thoughts and feelings that contributes to peace, that affects peace, the expression of peace through us, the development of peace within us. We recognize here that peace is not just quiet contemplation, although that is a very important and helpful practice. But peace, there's so many facets to it. And today, one that I want to talk about is patience. Patience, the quality of patience, and how that affects the expression of peace through us and as us. You might wonder, well, how does peace or how does patience relate to peace? And so to start talking about this, I invite you to think about impatience. Impatience. Sometimes we may feel impatient, whether it is with ourselves or with someone else. We may feel irritated or annoyed or even angry, frustrated, all of those feelings. And when we're feeling that, think about that impatience. We can take that in, take that with us. It is with us, and it affects what emanates out through us. So that irritation, that annoyance, that impatience affects the expression of peace through us. We may be desiring peace, but when that impatience is in there, it gets in the way. And we may be taking that into our spiritual practice. Even when we desire to have quiet reflection time, if there are those feelings in there, those feelings, those thoughts of impatience, that can get in the way. And that may happen to you sometimes, occasionally, or when lots of things are going on, that experience of impatience. And I'll share a couple of ideas in my life. And I'm thinking of an experience in our neighborhood. And there was a home up the street, a house that it was looking a little tired and uncared for. And one day when I was walking the dog and I was visiting with the owner, and she was talking about that they had ideas and things that they plans for updating and doing some things on the house. And I was grateful to hear about that. And time went on and on for a while, and I didn't see anything happen. And I realized that I was feeling impatient about that. I was feeling kind of irritated. And, think about that, when you feel about love thy neighbor, and how that relates to peace. And I could feel that. And then one day, there were a number of trucks there, and suddenly all kinds of activity was taking place. And all kinds of activities to clean up the house and update it and do all kinds. It was beautiful. And in the midst of that, I was visiting with the neighbor again, and she said, we had to go through a lot with the zoning board and all kinds. We had to resubmit our plans and make all kinds of changes. And I thought to myself, sometimes we get impatient, but there's still something happening. Just because we don't see something going on, there are things that are happening. And that was a helpful lesson to me about impatience and how it affects that feeling when we desire to feel peace. But sometimes we don't when we're impatient, to remember that there are things going on. that even when we don't see them. And that's helpful to think about all the activities in our country and our world today. And we may feel impatient sometimes. To remember that things are going on even when we don't see them. Remember that things are going on. And so that's something that we can do when we think about patience and peace. First of all, to recognize, be aware, that awareness of when am I feeling impatient about myself, about someone in my life, perhaps close by in my family, other people perhaps that I work with, or out in the world, in our neighborhood. And think about that and remember that those feelings about that can be down deep inside there and affect that expression of peace through us. So that awareness, that recognition of where we might not be practicing patience. I want to share a couple of helpful, I'll call them nuggets with you from Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind teaching, and wisdom from Ernest Holmes that can be helpful to us when we think about this idea of practicing patience in relation to peace. And in the Science of Mind textbook written by Ernest Holmes, he said, there is a continuous growth and unfoldment taking place in our consciousness, a greater vision, a greater concept. So remember that. When perhaps we're desiring something, we don't see the outcome happening as quickly as we would like. To remember that there is a continuous growth and unfoldment that is taking place in our consciousness. Things are happening, and we continue our spiritual practices to know that and nurture that. Ernest Holmes also said in the Science of Mind textbook, evolution is the time and the process through which an idea unfolds to a higher state of manifestation. That's so good. Evolution is the time and the process through which an idea unfolds to a higher state of manifestation. So we have that unfoldment, evolution, remembering those things. When we're feeling impatient, remembering things are happening. There are pieces coming together that maybe we don't see in the evolution of an idea, the development, things coming together. And that doesn't mean we think, well, I guess I'll just always sit and wait here. And that's not what that means. That means that continue to do our spiritual work and remember that patience, that trust, that knowing, that trust in the unfoldment, the evolution, the coming together, the parts and pieces. So that's an idea that can help us in practicing patience as we're practicing peace. Something practical that we can take with us. And I'll share a quick story with you too. There's a Buddhist story about the virtue of patience and peace. And the story of the Buddha traveling with many of his disciples in a long journey across many lands. And at one point in the journey, they stopped. They were tired and hungry and thirsty. And the Buddha sent one of the youngest disciple to fetch some water. And when the young disciple got to the river, he saw that there were oxen and carts crossing the river, and the river was all stirred up. There was mud, and it was dirty, and there wasn't clean water available. He went back to tell the Buddha that he could not get the water. The Buddha was very quiet and didn't say anything. And then a few minutes later, sent the young disciple back. And the young disciple saw that there was still muddy water. He couldn't get clean water for everyone to drink. So he went back and told them, and again, Buddha was quiet. And a couple more repeated times, sending the young disciple back, who was continuing to get impatient. And Buddha sent him back again. And this time the water had cleared, the mud had settled. And he scooped up water and brought it back, the clean water. And the Buddha said, "What did you do?" And the disciple thought, well, I didn't do anything to make the water clear. And the Buddha said, it was that time, that unfoldment, that settling. And sometimes our mind gets muddy with things, and it is that allowing of that settling. And then there's that clarity. And just like that settling of impatience, that knowing, trusting in the unfoldment, and that clarity of peace to shine through us. So there are some ideas to work with. Again, in practicing patience and recognizing how that affects our expression of peace within and without. So I'm going to anchor that with a short affirmative prayer here, knowing this truth. So right here and right now, I recognize the infinite all that is that I call God, that is in and through as everyone, everywhere. And I know that infinite, all that is God, Spirit, is in and through and as me. And the nature of God and the nature of me is peace. It is there. It is there. It is a quality that is there in its beauty, its clarity. And I know that I go forth with a new awareness of this, a new awareness of the practice of patience, tuning in and opening up and listening and practicing that patience and knowing that that peace that is there rises and shines through me in new and wonderful ways. Patience is a quality in me, and peace is there to shine through. I know this, and with the new awareness, I go forth. New awareness of patience and a new expression of peace. Knowing that this is so, it's unfolding right here and right now with a heart full of thanks, I affirm. And so it is, and so it is. And so I thank you for joining us today for Peace Party. And I invite you to join us for the following week, which will be on August 11th. We have Reverend Sherry Janand, who's going to be talking about peace is a noun and a verb. So until then, namaste.